Hi, I'm Michael Quirke, and I want to talk with you about a few things that you can do if your partner has CPTSD. The first thing is that you want to know your complex PTSD triggers that show up in relationships. Now, to learn about this, I recommend that you work with a trauma treatment specialist can help you find out what they are and master them. And that's important because what I've seen through my work with clients is that that first stage of even recognizing triggers can actually be quite difficult for people. Often, when we're triggered, we get so caught up in things that we lack the present moment awareness and recognition that we're triggered. And so we end up being buffeted about. We don't take any effective action to defuse the trigger, the physiological trigger. Next, try your very best not to take things personally. Yes, I know this is easier said than done, but it really can go a long way in soothing both of you and stabilizing your connection. You also want to learn more about complex post-traumatic disorder. Education is key. You want to be sure that you learn about your partner's specific needs and trigger. And just start by learning what CPTSD is. Practicing self care is very important. And that's because you need to safeguard your mental and physical well being. Do that by maintaining regular sleep patterns, by making healthy eating choices, and engaging in daily activities and exercise. Develop relaxation techniques that you use consistently. Be consistent with all these behaviors. And I like to say, and you may have heard in other videos, these are the foundations of physical and mental health. Without them, people really don't get better. Now, on a larger scale, you also want to be consistent with your behavior. And that's because somebody with CPTSD responds well to predictable patterns and habits. Those are trust builders. Respect boundaries, but also be sure that you are setting and enforcing your own boundaries and make this an ongoing, skillful, wise conversation between the two of you. That's important because in relationships where one person has CPTSD, a hallmark theme is one of avoidance. So you want to be sure that you're not avoiding being triggered by staying away from touchy or vulnerable topics. When it comes to consent, you want to talk about it, and particularly when it comes to physical intimacy. So get things out in the open in terms of your intimacy, in terms of your sex life. The next thing that is very important is you want to encourage your partner to seek professional help. Simply put, your partner needs professional treatment. They certainly don't need judgment. They don't need unreliable support. You don't want to have the blind leading the blind, right? So you want to turn to qualified sources of good information. A word about self-help. And you may have heard me say this in other videos and in other blog posts. Self-help is great often, but it simply will not cut it. And many people with trauma histories avoid finding professional help. And that's because closeness and the therapeutic relationship tend to be deeply triggering for somebody with complex PTSD. Now, let's talk about complex PTSD triggers that show up in relationships. When this is occurring, individual or couples therapy is invaluable. And here's what's important regarding complex PTSD and romantic relationships. Both people need support and guidance. Otherwise, you get stuck in what I call the trauma vortex, and you can just circle around like you're in the Bermuda Triangle, just frightened, confused, frustrated, detached, numbed out, ashamed, embarrassed, just buffeted about by emotional triggers. The person with CPTSD needs to work with a qualified mental health practitioner in order to move forward with their recovery. And the likelihood is that you probably do too. Trauma treatment is a specialized field of psychology. So it's best to work with someone who provides trauma informed care. If you work with a generalist, just know that they may not be able to guide you out of the situation you're in, no matter how well meaning they are. And to be blunt, this is something that I hear almost every single day. People come into my practice and tell me that they spent years, if not decades, working with kind, well meaning, smart men and women, but they didn't really get any traction in their therapy. And that's because the person wasn't a trauma specialist, didn't know what they were seeing or what to do about it. So let's talk a little bit more about complex PTSD triggers in relationships. Any therapy that you participate in should have some focus on both identifying and managing the very common complex PTSD triggers that arise in relationships. As a team, you and your partner can both commit to couples counseling. And if you're in a relationship with a trauma survivor, be sure that you're getting the support that you need. Remember, it's vital that you work with a couples therapist that specializes in working with trauma. And I think that that's particularly the case with any kind of couples or family therapy, because otherwise the couples therapy or the family therapy stands a very good chance of being best case ineffective, worst case flat out harmful. While your partner heals, the two of you can make much needed progress in your romantic life. These parallel tracks validate both of your needs, and they will together cover a lot more ground than if one of you is in therapy. Do you want to learn more about CPTSD? Well, I can help with that. Visit my website. The address is www.michaelgquirke.com. And if you go there, you're going to find hundreds of articles and videos like this. One more thing, please do me a favor, subscribe, comment, and if you know somebody that would benefit from watching this video, please share it. Thanks for watching.